Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Model Makers Group places models and actors with top agencies around the country. Co-owners Cristina and Tara have over 50 years of experience in the entertainment industry. They use that knowledge and insight to empower their clients with practical knowledge and personalized guidance needed to get started in the business. Welcome, Tara.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So first, go into a little bit of detail. What exactly does Model Makers Group do?
Sure. So our specialty is agency placement. So we consult with models, and if they're under 18, we're also often working with their parents, and we're helping them navigate the industry. We are primarily working with models, hence the name Model Makers, but we also have clients who are in entertainment, maybe as a TV host or an actor. So we also work with other specialties under that entertainment umbrella, but our specialty is helping those clients sign to reputable agencies around the country. And though I am now based in Dallas and my partner Cristina is on the East Coast, we work with clients every day all across the country. We accomplish a lot of that through Zoom sessions. And of course, we love to work with our clients in person. So I have a great office here in Dallas where I meet with clients. We also, anytime we're traveling, we make an announcement to our clients so that we can hopefully connect face-to-face, because as you know, nothing beats face-to-face, but our success rate is really the same, whether we're meeting with our clients in person or online.
So what is the benefit of having an agency like yours versus trying to go direct to various modeling agencies?
Sure, that's a question that we get a lot. And, agencies are flooded with new talent submissions every day. And it is the snap of a finger for them to say no. In fact, most of their submissions will instantly go into the no pile. And so what we found is that, you don't know what you don't know until you figure out you don't know it. And so that's where our models and clients are. They don't know what they don't know. But what we offer is practical guidance to get them where they need to go. So it often starts with reviewing imagery. And as you know, as a photographer, imagery is so impactful. But a lot of times these models are applying to agencies on their own, not knowing what the agents want. So they're sending in the wrong types of pictures. Maybe they have incomplete applications. They don't know what a talent resume should look like. They don't know what a slate video should comprise of. They don't have their measurements correct. I mean, something so simple as taking your body measurements. I measure models all the time, and I usually want to test them like, hey, take these at home. And when we meet in person, if we have the opportunity to, I'm going to test your measuring skills. And a lot of times those are off. And, this is an image-based business. So a few inches off can make a big difference on an application. And so we're looking at all those elements, start to finish, to prepare before we recommend that a client submit to agencies. And we have two different consulting packages. We have one where we are doing all that legwork ahead of time, and then we send a customized list of agencies that we have vetted, that we know to be reputable and ethical and professional in the industry. And then they are handling the submissions on their own, but we're there every step of the way to answer questions, to review emails that they receive. We're there supporting them through that process, but they're handling the submissions on their own. And then we have what we call our ultimate consulting package, where we personally submit the clients to agencies, which is much more full service. It's a very tedious process to submit to agencies, but we've done it for so many years. It's really easy for us, and it takes that off the plate of the model or the parent. And so really that's it, is just, the success rate of getting signed if you've worked with a professional is going to be higher than if you just wing it.
And both you and Cristina also come from a place of having been there, done that kind of a thing, which I think is so much better when you have somebody who knows what it's like to be on the other side. I know for me, I know what women like to want to look like in front of the camera because I've been on the other side of the camera. And I just think that little element helps so much. So talk to us a little bit about what some of the things you and Cristina have accomplished.
Yeah. So, when we started our business, it was 2009. She and I were both working as professional full-time models in Los Angeles. We met at a casting and instantly had a friendship. We both had the experience of competing at Miss USA as state title holders. So I was Miss Alabama USA, she was Miss Massachusetts USA. So when we put that together, we had this instant connection. And as we started talking about our experience in the industry, at that point, we'd already been working for many years. We also realized that we were fielding a lot of questions, maybe from friends of friends, or like my mom's hairdresser's daughter, it was all these like degrees of separation, but people would be contacting us, either emailing us or calling us independently and saying, hey, I want to help my daughter get into the business, or hey, my friend signed with this agency, but something doesn't sound right. Can you help? And so we realized there was a real need for practical advice and consulting and mentorship. And for us, it was just so simple because we were already working in the industry. We'd already reviewed our own agency contracts. We know what needed to be in place. We know what red flags to look for, how to stay safe. We both were very lucky to have positive and safe experiences in the industry, but we also know what to look and listen for. And so we thought, we've got so much knowledge that we can share. And that's how we started our business. Cristina and I both had wonderful careers that allowed us to travel the world. We also did a lot of TV hosting, red carpet hosting, things like that. So, we've also had not only worked as models, but had our hand in broadcasting and a little bit of acting. And so it really does, that knowledge base is so great for our clients. And we continue to help facilitate castings, and we still continue to work with some of the fashion brands that we modeled for many years ago and help them place models for their campaigns as well. So we're still very much involved in the modeling industry, and that definitely translates to helping our clients navigate it. And at the end of the day, just as we had a positive and safe experience, that is the ultimate goal. I mean, we want these girls to have fun and make money and all the other things too, but safety has always been top priority and will always continue to be. And really signing with a reputable agency adds so many layers of protection to that model and to a parent supporting her child, because the agency vets their clients. They get to be the bad guys and chase down the money if the invoices are late. They negotiate the contract on behalf of the model, and they should always be looking out for the model's best interest. So that's why we've chosen to really focus on agency placement, because certainly it makes for a more healthy place for a new model to start. It's a more nurturing environment to be under the protection of that agency. But also we know that the best bookings are always going to come through reputable agencies. And in fact, just yesterday, I had a client who I'm working with on agency placement. She received an email. Maybe it was like a cold call through Instagram. I don't know how this email came to her, but it was a scam email basically claiming, you've got a booking in LA. We need you here next week. It's a $4,000 gig. And I just had to tell her, there's no way that company, and I'm not going to name who they were saying it was, would hire you directly without going through an agency, because also agencies have insurance coverage and things like that. And individual models just don't have, there's a lot of legality to that too. But that's why I was like, just politely decline to respond to that email, and let's continue working on getting you signed, because that's really where the agent helps lead models to meaningful casting and booking opportunities. And we really want to get them there so they can do more of what they love.
And it's really kind of sad, because a lot of new models especially want it so badly. So you just hit on one, what are some red flags that they can watch out for that, no, this is not something that you want to respond to or pursue?
Sure. I mean, I think, casting is so important, and especially for big projects. So if a model receives a DM on Instagram or an email and it's about a booking and they're direct booked without having to do anything, then you need to, have your ears and eyes open, because that something doesn't sound or look right to me in that situation. So, there always should be some sort of casting. Now, a lot of models are able to self-tape. And I think this has really been great for our models that live in more rural markets, because I think post-COVID, we found that, the Zoom casting process was just easier for casting directors and for fashion professionals. So a lot of times you'll start with that. You may end up having an in-person like callback, but so many things can be booked from afar, but there needs to be some sort of interview / casting. And so if you haven't been asked to do that, then chances are that's a scam. Also, the lists of agencies that we're providing to our clients, we keep spreadsheets on spreadsheets of all the regions where we have our clients, and that's the whole country. And we're very familiar with almost all of the agency contracts on the list that we're providing to our clients. And so we know that agents do not ask for money for you to be represented. And that's definitely one of the scams. So we actually wrote a book called Top 10 Modeling Scams, and it's on Amazon. And it's just a little guide, really, but it's like easy things that you can do, whether you're working with us and you're getting signed to an agency, or if you're trying it on your own, just some really practical things that you can do to stay safe and to have a good experience in the industry. But those are two things, just like there should always be a casting, and then you do not pay an agency to be represented by them. There are some fees, and there are some caveats, of course. And we discuss that with our clientele and review that in contract review. But by and large, that's the rule.
So who is a good client for you, or what makes a good client for you?
A great client for me is someone who's willing to do the work. So trust me, you don't want to just pay me to tell you that you're pretty and talented, but sometimes I think the clients just want me to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm actually here to like push you and get you to the next step. And so I love my clients who work hard. So every time I meet with a client, or Cristina meets with a client, whether we're Zooming or in person, we always send instantly a follow-up email. Here are your next tasks, and here are ours, because there's a lot of stuff we do behind the scenes, reviewing contracts, putting together the agency list, talent resume, reviewing, their materials, model, walking, commercials, whatever it is. But they have to be doing the work too. And so I love when a client is really on top of it and motivated. And that's one thing that we cannot teach. And I've tried for 13 years. I cannot be someone's motivation. They've got to find that motivation within themselves. And this industry really requires it. I think that because modeling is an image-based industry, and of course, that's an important part of it, people just think, oh, well, I'm so pretty, so I'll get signed and work. But guess what? And you know this as a photographer, there's so much more to it. You've got to be professional. You've got to show up prepared. You need to have a good attitude. You need to work hard and do what is expected of you, and go the extra mile and express gratitude. There's just so much that goes to it that really is a part of the equation for the success of the client and for the longevity of that client. So we love our hardworking, motivated clients because they tend to do really well.
It's funny that you touch on that too, because people say, oh, I want to get into the modeling business. And they focus on the modeling and not on the business.
Right.
And there's a reason why it's called the modeling business.
Sure. That's right.
So when somebody comes to you, ideally, what would you like to see them come at you with?
They just need to be open-minded and willing to work hard. So, sometimes a model comes to me and, I always in the first session, it's like, let me get to know your goals. Because every client is different. They all have different strengths. They all live in different regions geographically. They all have different goals. So I need to learn what that is so that we can really personalize the guidance and mentorship we're going to offer them. And I think that, if a model comes to us and they just have this like super defined, like I only want to be a runway model, or I only want to be an actor, then they could be limiting themselves, because until you get into the industry, you may not know what's going to be a good fit for you. So I really love when the models are open to, the different ideas we have. I mean, we can definitely look at a model and get to know her or him. We have male models too, and say, you know what, based on their strengths, this is the path that we think that they need to go within the industry, or this is the path, or maybe both. And so the more open-minded they are to that, the better. Also, process of elimination is powerful, right? It sometimes leads us to where we need to be. And so I think that if we encourage a model maybe to also look at acting, because maybe she lives in a market where there are a lot of acting opportunities. We don't want her to miss out on that. That may not be her first passion, but she can also determine pretty quickly through the casting process after she gets signed, like if that's going to be a good fit for her or not. But I think just being open to that is really important.
And I would think that being open and flexible makes one model more placeable than
Yeah.
another.
Sure. And a lot of these agencies that our models are applying to are what we call full service, meaning they have like a fashion division and a commercial division and a theatrical division, and maybe even a voiceover division. And so if a model can be viewed as marketable between divisions, that could make her more signable. And so allowing her to explore those things and encouraging her to be open-minded to that, I think makes her more desirable from the agent's perspective. And I keep saying her because predominantly our clients are female. If you go to our Instagram page at Model Makers Group, you'll see, but we definitely have some male models. In fact, I've got a male model a couple of males I'm working with right now. And so, so apologize for defaulting to the feminine language.
So let's just say someone is rejected by an agency or even by your agency.
Mhm.
Is there anything that they can do that they can work on and come back stronger, or sometimes is it just they need a few years to develop, or
Sure.
is pretty much once you're rejected, you're done?
No, definitely not. In fact, our clients are going to hear no more than they hear yes. I mean, that's the way it goes in the industry. You've got to learn to not take it too personally. One thing that is outside of our control. So when we're working with a client through the consulting phase, we're working on the things that are within our control, the great imagery, professional marketing materials, all of that. But the thing that's outside of our control are the needs of the agency at the moment of submission. And the needs of the agency change. Sometimes they just realize we've got too many 18 to 24-year-old blondes, so we're just not taking anyone that fits, that checks those boxes. Or maybe we only need to focus on building up our male roster, or we only need our over 40, we're only accepting submissions for over 40. So we find that happens all the time. And what we encourage our clients to do, and we share like a shared spreadsheet so we can all look at the notes together, is we want to know, like, when did you hear that no, and was it no or not now? Because that's different. And a lot of people hear not now and they only see no in that sentence, and I'm like, no,
Right.
not now is very different. And so while it is our hope and expectation that most of our clients will sign in the initial submission phase, there are many clients that will get signed in the follow-up, and the follow-up time frame depends on a few factors, but we're always sticking with the client through that process. It may be 3 months, 6 months later that they're submitting, and sometimes the agency will give you very specific feedback, like, hey, you're just too green, we want you to do XYZ, or hey, we think that you could really build up the skill set, we encourage that you get some professional training at an acting school, or something like that. So we want to know, anytime that feedback is given, follow through with it and follow up with them, and chances are you'll get signed. And like I said, process of elimination is powerful. Sometimes it just isn't a good fit. I would say that more often than our clients just not getting signed anywhere, sometimes we've had models get into the process and then they realize, ooh, I really don't like the casting process, or, oh, the agency relationship, like this feels like too much pressure. I just like doing pictures for fun, but not for work. And I'm like, you know what? That's still a win, because now you can pivot and put your energy somewhere else. Now for us, when people, the way that we connect with our clients, we have personal referrals that come in from industry insiders, but we also have an application on our website. So we just get a lot of applications every single day, and we do review them, and we do truly want to encourage clients that we believe could thrive in the industry. Now, like I said, there's a lot of space in that, underneath that entertainment umbrella. Everyone cannot be a high fashion model if they don't meet certain height and size requirements. That's just sort of the way it is. But if we see that a client has potential and maybe she wants to be a high fashion model, but we know that may not be as feasible, then we're going to encourage her to maybe look at commercial or lifestyle modeling, something else. So we are selective about who we work with, but we always want to encourage people that we believe have potential.
Okay, let's talk about images.
Yes.
What are you have to have these images in a modeling portfolio?
You want to have a variety of images in your portfolio, smiling, not smiling, headshot, three-quarter body, full body, profile. And what you need in your portfolio kind of depends on what you think your strength is going to be. So a high fashion portfolio is going to look different than a commercial lifestyle portfolio. Also, what we're recommending for portfolios somewhat depends on the markets where the clients are going to be submitting. But I think one thing that's important to share with models, and I'm sure you've shared this with your clients too, is a portfolio is not built in one shoot. It cannot happen. So be prepared to come back to have multiple shoots. Every time that a model is in front of a professional lens, she's getting so much on the spot training because you're working with a photographer who's offering direction. You're learning how to become confident in your skin. You have a chance to go back to the raw images later and look and realize, oh, I really like my body when it's angled like this. And I don't really like this. I'm going to try to do less of this and more of this in my next shoot. So there's so much wisdom to be gained through test shooting. So we encourage our clients, if you're shooting with a photographer, even if you're going to shoot with the same photographer to build your starter portfolio or to add to your portfolio, plan to schedule more than one shoot. Maybe you want one day in studio and you want another day outdoors with natural light. The portfolio building process is what our clients love the most because it's the glamorous part and it is important. And so we love helping our clients with photo shoot preparation. We every week we review literally thousands of raw images for our clients because the image selection process is important. So when we're reviewing those images, hopefully we've already worked with the client, we've prepared her for the shoot, this worked on styling and all of that. And then after the shoot, we want to help select images that we believe will be attractive from the agent's perspective, but also the client has a huge say in that. We want her or him to be so proud of their marketing materials. And so there's definitely a collaborative effort at that point to help narrow down which images will be featured in the portfolio.
Let's say a model comes to you, do you like them to come with some kind of imagery to show you at first, or does it really not matter because you're going to gain a lot through the interview process?
That's a great question. I think that we get both. We get some clients that are like, I just had a photo shoot with a photographer, and maybe that photographer is who recommended us. Sometimes a model has not done any imagery, and we will help guide her toward a photographer near her that we think could be a good fit. I will say that, like I said, when we talked about like when girls are just, or guys, when models are just winging it and applying to agencies, a lot of times they're really picking images that are not what the agent's looking for. And so sometimes if the model's already had a shoot and we weren't able to, do photo shoot prep and styling prep, then we may not have what we need. And then we're going to recommend that they invest in more imagery. And so I think, sometimes it's nice if we can catch the client before they've made that financial investment because, you do want to invest in a good photographer and retouching and all of that. And so sometimes I think it's disappointing to a client, of course, when we're like, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. And I love that you had the shoot, but we really think you're going to need to reshoot before you submit to agencies because our job is to provide, honest, transparent advice, and the client's success is our success. So we really want to make sure that we get it right because, as we know, we get one chance to make a great first impression. Now, that being said, like I talked about, many clients get signed in the follow-up process. Sometimes a model has already submitted to agencies and then they come to us after they didn't get a good response. It makes our job a little bit harder, but we still want to do our best to get them to that signed contract.
Yeah. And, I know for me also, when you hand a client proofs, they usually pick based on the ones where they feel that they look the best, but it's not necessarily the most dynamic image, or it's not the strongest image.
Yes.
And so I understand exactly what your frustration is.
Well, yes, that is so true. And, everyone's got an opinion. Image selection is interesting. It's a very, we take a lot of time. Cristina and I both review all the albums of our clients. sometimes it's not like there's going to be the magic 10. We all are attracted to different things. There are certainly some boxes that we're checking, and we do know what the models will need in the agency submission process. So we definitely need to check those boxes, but we also want whatever the client likes in addition to what we choose, and what grandma likes and what dad likes, whoever has reviewed the imagery. But that means it's been a successful shoot too. I mean, I think, a good problem to have is that it's hard to narrow down the images because there are so many good options. And I would say by and large, that's what we're seeing with our shoots. So it's a fun process. And then it's such a reward, from the model preparing with the shoot and working with the photographer and then reviewing the raw images, and then to see the portfolio printed or the comp cards or the headshots, like to get to that final step. It's such a cool process to be a part of.
Is there a magic number where they need to have at least X amount of images to begin?
We always say it's quality over quantity. So we would rather have, really strong images, and, what Cristina and I have always said for years, and I'm sure someone told this many, many moons ago when we were modeling, you're only as strong as your weakest photo. So you want to have really strong images in your book, and I'd rather you have less than too many duplications and things like that. However, if a model wants to build like a comp card, the standard format for a comp card is featuring 5 images. So I'm usually saying, we want to at least have 5, but a good variety of that 5. And then I would say for most of our models, if they've had, a multi-look shoot, most of them are usually printing maybe 10 to 15 in their first portfolio. A standard portfolio book, and we have a great print lab that we partner with in LA, and he handles our books and comp cards and all of that. But the standard book holds 40 prints, and I'm like, do not be tempted to try to fill up that book because it would just be too much of the same. So we would rather him have a really strong 10 images, and then just know that book grows with you as you continue to have more shoots. You filter in new work, maybe cycle some of the older work out, and it's always a work in progress.
How often should models and actors get new images?
That's a good one. I would say, so for young adults, it's definitely once a year, unless you've had a major change. So if you've cut your hair or, something like that. Or like for males, if they've changed their facial hair and then they tend to always now have a goatee, then they need to have that on their pictures. For my younger clients, a lot of our clients are in grade school, middle school, high school. You're needing to shoot more frequently because you're changing, you're growing. So I usually tell those models, it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole huge shoot, but you need at least one headshot. And this is for actors and models every 6 months, because especially for the littles, their teeth are changing, braces are coming off, braces are going on, haircuts, all that. So you do want to look like your image. In fact, Cristina and I both, do all this consulting work. Cristina actually still models. I'm also still signed here in Dallas, but I'm so busy with model makers, I don't really do much work. But I did get an email from my agent, and even this week, my agent was like, "Tara, you need to update your headshot." So, that's something to be prepared for, and something that you need to kind of budget in when you're thinking about, your future expenses.
How do you find the right fit for an agency? Is it just knowing, because I'm guessing from what you have said that each agency kind of has its own flavor.
They do. Yeah, I think that sometimes, you can sometimes tell when an agent's really excited about a talent who is filling a gap on their roster. And that's like the best case scenario. Like, oh, we've really been needing this look or your age or whatever. So that could be a really fruitful relationship. Sometimes also, agencies, there are some agencies that require more experience, and there are some agencies that tend to book more, models that are newbies that are very green. So sometimes our clients are stair-stepping. They may be starting with that smaller agency who may be less selective about who they sign on. They may have a larger roster, but it's a great place for them to get into the system and to start getting experience. And then we help them, take it to the next level with maybe a bigger agency in that same market, or maybe even breaking into another market. So there's a lot of factors to kind of consider when an agency could be a good fit. Certainly, aligned goals, especially with their divisions of representation, how excited and how and also your gut feeling. So sometimes in a best case scenario, our clients have a couple of options to make. So maybe they've met with two agencies in the same market and they both have contract offers. The contract should by and large be about the same. I mean, we review contracts with them, so we'll talk to them about that. But if the contracts are the same and they're in the same market, sometimes it's just like going with your gut. Like, who did you feel that you had a better rapport with? Where did you feel more comfortable? Because, we're going to be passing the torch. Once we get to that signed contract, we don't go away. We still want to hear from our clients. We still continue to provide mentorship, but now the agent is really the one in the role helping guide them with regards to their imagery and the direction of their career. So you really want to make sure it's someone that you feel comfortable with, that you have a good feeling about. And that's something that I can't make that decision for them. But I really want them to like think about like, how did you feel in the office with each of these folks? And where do you feel like it could be a better fit? But sometimes, even with all of that being said, sometimes a client signs with an agency and it's not a good fit. And maybe they thought it was, and maybe the agent has moved directions, or maybe they actually do have too many people in your division and you're just kind of getting lost in the mix. We continue to strategize with our clients and help them, sometimes break contracts and move to the next agency. But this is also a normal part of the industry. I mean, Cristina and I at one point had, we counted how many agencies we had been with collectively through the course of our career, and it was about 40. So like, you are constantly changing agencies or signing in new markets, and that's normal. So it's not something to feel bad about. It's a business relationship. It should be mutually beneficial and mutually fruitful.
Which then does bring me to my next question. Somebody gets signed to an agency. What role then does Model Makers Group play?
So we want to be very respectful of the agency relationship, and we're going to encourage them to really get to know their agent, develop a rapport, make a connection with them. And we will continue to be there to bounce ideas off of, but we're never going to overstep that boundary, because now the agent, contractually, they are going to have to be the one to answer certain questions like, should I cut my hair? Or who should I shoot with next? Or which headshot should I print for, my headshot? So that's where the agency, we will always lean on that's their role at that point. But we want to continue to be there as support. So it's not uncommon for us after a model has signed to get like an email forwarded to us like, hey, my agent sent me this casting, but I have no idea what this language means, because there's a whole lingo in the industry that maybe you haven't heard of yet. So we help them kind of break that down. In fact, just earlier this week, I had a mom of one of our male models here in Dallas, and he had a great opportunity for a shoot that's coming up. And she was like, okay, here's the financial breakdown. What does this mean, like, for what he would be getting paid for the job? And that's something that she could ask the agent, but agents are not as patient as I am, and they don't have as much time for all the little questions, but we do. And so we want to continue to be there to support and answer questions. And we love to hear how our clients are doing in the industry, because that's so fun. I think the fulfilling part of this job is that we're getting to watch this, new generation of models and actors get started in an industry that's been so good to us. And that's really fun to be just a part of their journey.
Love it. And with that, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Okay.
What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Oh, okay. There were so many because I was talking with Cristina about this morning. But the first one that came to mind was, comparison is the thief of joy. And this is something that I tell my models all the time, because it's so easy to go to that agency interview or that open call or that casting, and you look around the room and there's all these gorgeous, talented people. Welcome to the business. That's what it's going to be forever. So don't start comparing yourself to others. Be confident in who you are and what you've got to offer, and be prepared to do the work. And I think comparison, and that's not, it's great advice for me to continue to abide by and to impart to my children. I think across the board, but I think especially as it relates to our business as model makers, comparison is definitely the thief of joy.
Share this one thing on your bucket list.
I want to go to Greece so bad. So I have some Greek family members. They're not even like related. It's my husband's stepfather, and then one of our best friends are Greek, and we just love the Greek culture and the food, and it looks so beautiful. So I am determined to get myself to Greece, maybe in the next year or two.
When the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
a ring light because I could blind the bad guys, and all models need to have a good ring light for their agency interview, online interviews and castings. And then of course, caffeine, because you know what? This really helps me get my day started. I love a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And while everyone is wimping out, I can just recharge myself.
And the last one, how do people find you if they want to be a model, if they want to be an actor, if they need your help? And I also know that you can work with them in person and virtually. So
yeah, sure.
Tell us how to find you and how that all works.
Yeah. So to learn more about what we do and who our clients are, you can check out our Instagram at Model Makers Group. But the best way to really apply to work with us is to fill out an application on our website, modelmakersgroup.com. And we just collect some basic information, where you live, your height, some information about you, and we ask that you attach a photo. And then if we feel like there's potential there, then we will schedule a complimentary call or Zoom to really determine if it's a good fit. And then if it is, then we look forward to working with you.
Love it. Thank you so very much for being here.
Sure thing.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.